Hello. We have audio. How we doing? Play. How we doing now? Hello. There. We should be good. What is going on, everybody? Did you have a nice week? Nice night? Nice everything? How's breakfast? I didn't have breakfast. I'm having a fruit and nut bar. I kind of don't eat a lot of breakfast. D3S is good for everything. Brownies for breakfast. No, I actually need to get my water, but it's in the other room, so I'm not going to bother with it right now. I got some new lights up in here, and they're uber duper bright things. Alright. I see this discussion going on about the D3X being more megapixels and everything, and you know, at $8,000, it's a pretty expensive camera late in its lifespan. I still prefer the D3S over the D3X myself. But, I mean, I've used both, but that's what I prefer. Alright, so, how many of you have seen the Japan charity shirt? And the question is, would you recommend this is what I'm reading, would you recommend the Tokina 11-16 over the 8-16 Sigma? Yeah, well, yeah, one's a 2.8 and one is not. So it's going to take me a while to ship out these shirts because there have been so many orders that it's going to take an awful lot of time to fill them out and print and label and do all of that. So a bunch of people should have gotten or start getting them soon, but it's going to take me a while to get to everything. But that's because there's so many of them. Yeah, Joe got his. Do I have an MPS card? Yeah. Alright, so how many of you have, you have any questions about the assignments going forward? Have you seen the assignments? What do you think of the assignments so far? I've seen a lot of great results coming in, and it's doing exactly what I hoped it would do, getting a lot of people to show how their depth of field works when they're shooting with different lenses and different apertures and all of that different stuff. So it would be really cool to see what everybody comes up with. It's a great way to learn. No such thing as a $200 or less great zoom lens that's going to be perfect for your D3100. It just you're not gonna find it for $200 or less. $500 or less. I mean, you're still, if you could find a used 2.8, like 70 to 200. I mean, even you wouldn't even get a Nikon 70 to 300 5.6, or it's a 4.5. Yeah, it's a 5.6. You wouldn't even get that for $500. That's like $590. That's a good lens if you're going to be outside and shooting, but as you progress, it's not going to be the best of the best. Yeah, there definitely will be more specific assignments coming forward. This is just the very first one. Alright, yeah, that's a good question. Somebody's asking, how did that guy in the assignment get F 0.34 equivalent? I have no idea. It's not from his lens. It's from after the fact, done digitally in the computer. I don't consider that to be a good representation of depth of field. I don't believe that. Yeah, somebody says he thinks they stitched a few pictures together to get that. Yeah, I mean, it's just... I'm more of a fan of trying to get that depth of field in the camera right, because it's going to save you a heck of a lot of time later on. It's going to save you a lot of time later on in getting doing extra work. And in this week's with this week's guest on the raw file of the week, you're going to see something similar where the photographer decided to do the shot at f10 and then tried to blow out the background of certain things in the photo, like the person in the background was blown out, but not all the wall and all the details, so it kind of was distracting. What do you think of the new Sigma DSLR? I was talking to Alan about this yesterday, the Sigma DSLR, and we were saying that Sigma, though they've made that amazing Foveon sensor with the multi-layers and stuff like that, if they made it in a mount that you could buy it in Nikon or you could buy it in Canon, that would be such a better idea, so that you're not limited to just buying the Sigma lenses. You could use your Nikons and Canons. No, the three-legged thing has not shown up. Its UPS has failed to do it or redirect it. So, up until this point, not yet. Alan does do rentals if he's got them in stock, yeah. Yeah, the Sigma sensor is pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting because it has multi layers. I mean, I haven't done too much research in it. I know I have the press release to read. And it's interesting. I mean, a new technology. I was talking with Rob at Allen's about it, and how he was saying that digital is pretty, we know it's pretty flat, and film had a thickness to it because of the emulsion, so it gave a little bit of dimension, and that's what would be great if we could replicate in digital. I do sniff test the Febreze before I buy it. The Weezer shoot was interesting. I wasn't too keen on the fact that I didn't have my all-access pass and didn't have somebody there to take care of that for me. So I was just shooting from the pit and limited to the 3 songs. And like I said to the venue guys, I said, if I'm here to work for you guys, I kind of need all access to do what you're looking for me to do. So we'll try to get that worked out for the next time. Now, it's hard to list what Allen's has for sale and used. It's just they come and they go so often. But you could give them a call, or if you're looking for a specific one, you could ask them. Somebody asked if the 5D Mark II is good for concerts. The 5D Mark II is all right for concerts. It's just the focusing may be a problem because of the 9 focusing points. It just lacks the focusing ability that the other cameras have. How do I share this on Facebook? Let me attempt to do this. I gotta try to figure out how to do this. How do I... Let's see, I did that. Alright, back to the chat room. Here we go. Wow, we've answered, does Alan do rentals already? I don't know if he has a 10mm for rent. Joe, how did the meetup go yesterday? I know that Joe and Father Anthony and a bunch of other people met up at the zoo. And Joe, tell them a little bit about what you guys did. What do you guys mean by any projects in Dubai? You mean for me? No, nothing in UAE or Dubai at this point. Oh, you've posted the pics in the forum, Joe? I'm not a fan of Sam Young 8mm 3.5 fisheye. Not a fan, not a fan, not a fan. I'm not a big fan of the really off-brand lenses. You just get such bad flare and not sharp around the edges. But again, you could get great pictures with everything. Uh, Allen's has. Here's the question: is the 35-1/8 still worth getting at the price it's at? Allen just got in a bunch of them and is selling them at $199 still. So if you want it, you should give him a call. Because he still has the 35 1.8s at the old price. Ooh, then I need to check out those pictures. I haven't seen them yet. What about Adobe RGB? What is it? That when you set Adobe RGB, that's setting your camera. Basically, when you're shooting RAW, it doesn't matter which mode you're set to. It's just going to affect mostly how your file names are going to be filed. I do sRGB. How often for new assignments? Maybe once a month for now. We'll see how they go, and some assignments could be shorter, some assignments could be longer. Would I recommend the 55-200 Nikon or the 55-300 lens? Again, neither. Not a big fan of those kit lenses. I mean, if you needed one for outside, I mean, the 300's built better. The 55-300 is built better. That's okay if you're a very beginner, but what's going to happen, the guy's saying he's a very beginner and the 55-300 and the 55-200, but you're going to probably outgrow them really, really quick and end up, if you're going to spend $400 on the 55-300, that's $400 closer you could have been to, say, a 70-200 2.8 that you'll have for 5 years over having one for another couple years. Do I like stop motion or time lapse? Yeah, that does look pretty cool. No, I definitely don't recommend saving for the 18-200 at all. I mean, I've done some DNG is digital negative. I've done some not time lapse. I've done some of those like movies, but it's like you're shooting movies. You're shooting it's like you're shooting 40 pictures a minute, well, not a minute, but you're doing like 9 frames a second, and then you just put it all together into a slideshow pretty much, and it's like a rapid fire video. I have not played with the OS from Sigma. I'd like to say that if you're going to spend the money on that Sigma, you should probably save up for the Nikon VR1. Where's the best spot to stand around the field for shooting baseball? Well, if you could stand caddy corner, like looking at home plate, you got to know that most of your batters are going to be right-handed. So it's usually at the end of one of the dugouts. If there's an opening that you shoot into, you should be able to get some good stuff there. But also behind the fence, if you could shoot through the fence and they let you there, you could get some good stuff of the pitcher there. The question is, do you think anytime soon there will be a substitution of any 14-24, 24-70, and 70-200? Absolutely not. Don't see that coming anytime soon. And this question is, my friend is deciding between a D700 and a D7000. I mean, it's such a that you can't compare the two. The D700 is clearly better. I mean, yes, it's much more expensive, but if you're just starting out, put the money into the lenses and get a less expensive body. Yeah, I think a 35mm is a lens that you should get, whether it's on Nikon or Canon. If you use a 50 on a Canon, as a great lens to start teaching yourself. Just use it and you're good. What is the best bag to hold my DSLR with 3 lenses and my MacBook Pro? Bags are tough. I mean, I'm using the, for something like that, I've gotten the Hebrew Trinity, and I'm putting up a review tomorrow on the, what's it called? The Think Tank Urban Disguise 35. It gets my laptop, the Hebrew Trinity, and the iPad and all in there. I wouldn't compare the Tokinas to the Nikons. The Nikon would by far be better. Which lens would be the best for portraits? Well, I prefer a 70-200 for portraits. I think that's a great portrait range. When I shoot and look at the meter, do you go more on the plus or more on the minus? It all depends on the situation, and a lot of times I may not even look at the meter. I may take a test image to get my to get a ballpark, to get it pretty close, and then from there I will tweak my manual settings to what I feel looks the best. You're welcome for the Japan tea. I have photographed weddings. I do have some coming up. So somebody's looking to get their first camera. I guess it's a difference between a T3i and the Nikon 5100, and the budget's about $1,000. Either way you decide to go is fine. They're both going to do a great job. I like that the 5100 has the same image sensor as the D7000. I have a T3i sitting here somewhere. I think it's on the floor back there. I mean, it's more megapixels, but I find that camera gets mushy at higher ISOs, and I do like what the 5100 felt like. I mean, even though it's smaller. I don't think Sigma's going to drop their prices anytime soon. Good question. Talking about wedding photography, what is your workflow? How many prints do you usually make, and what's the basic equipment? Well, when I'm delivering products, they're not going to get more than, say, 400 photos when it's over. I do not shoot 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 pictures in a day at a wedding. I'll shoot maybe 500 at the most, and the other shooter will do about the same. So there's no reason to overshoot at weddings. I found that a lot of people say that they deliver 2,000 proofs. That's just insane. There's no reason to deliver that much. You can't possibly be getting keeper after keeper after keeper shooting 2,000 pictures. I do it where I get the photo and I move on, and that to me is the best thing to do. I'm sure I'll work in a specific contest for the themes and stuff for contests or. Dude, I was thinking today if there was an easy way to change exposure compensation on the D3 while the vertical position. I personally don't ever change exposure compensation. I just literally change my exposure. I'll bump it, if I'm shooting manual, I'll just move it rather than worry about the plus minus. Would I use a Black Rapid with a battery grip battery pack? I did on the D7000. I didn't have a problem with it at all. What is my editing process for shooting weddings? I import all the photos into Lightroom. I rename everything because if there's 2 photographers, I'll put it in by time so that all the photos will be in order chronologically. And then I rename them so that they're now all in named order, start to finish. Then my first run that I go through, I will star the images that I want to edit and skip the ones that I don't want to edit, and then go from there. I don't own a D3100. I own a D3000. Somebody says here they have a budget for a 5D Mark II. Do you think it's worth buying for with my beginner skills I have. I wouldn't buy a 5D Mark II right now. Don't know when they're putting out the Mark III, but it's definitely on the way. You could call Alan to see if he's got some refurb Mark IIs if that's what you're interested in. But I mean, a 7D, if you're just starting out and you want Canon, a 7D is going to be a really good place to start. How do you get into wedding photography? You start getting into it. You go shoot some. You shoot for other people. You ask people if they're getting married, or you tell that somebody's getting married. They already have a photographer, and you ask if you could shoot during the day just to get some sample images. That's what you do. I don't flag in Lightroom. I've just always starred. I don't know. I put the 5. I give them ratings of 5. That's what I do. What about the D3S? Which would I recommend for concert photography? 17 to 55 or 24 to 70? Well, the 17 to 55 is going to be wider, but obviously the 24-70 is going to give you a little more reach. It's probably a pretty good lens on a DX body. Why go from crop to full frame? Because you're stepping up your game. You're becoming more of a professional and selling your work, and you just get better images full frame on both Nikon and Canon. Rolio just picked up a 24 to 70 and 70 to 200 VR2. He has a D7000. What's the difference? You'll see. Well, you'll see that your lenses will be 24 to 70 and 70 to 200, but the quality of full frame is just far superior to what you get with DX cameras. Sure, the D7000 is good, but full frame cameras, you get a better build quality. It's just better overall. 50D versus 550D. So one is the older camera and one's a Rebel. I mean, I guess the Rebel would be better at this point. The question is, do you suggest using watermarks when you put photos on Facebook? I've kind of shied away from putting watermarks on anything right now. I don't know. All the information's in the photo, and if somebody's going to take it, they're going to take it, and I just rather have them not crop my image and try to cut out the photo if they're going to use it. I just hope they don't I don't know, try to sell my work. But I don't know, I just think the watermark detracts anymore, and I want people to know it. I do want them to know it's my work, but that's why I've put in all the metadata and all of that good stuff. How do you get networking? How do you get recognized? Please don't type it in 14 times. But you could you could work for other photographers at weddings. You build a website, you promote yourself to your friends, and it starts to spread from there. Yeah, become a second shooter is a very good idea. That definitely shows you the ropes. Good question. How many photos should a person have for each section in their portfolio? I mean, you could do anywhere from 15 to 20, but make them your best images. I was talking with some people the other day, and they were asking me, how do you order your portfolio? You put your best stuff first, and then the not-so-good stuff in the middle, and then finish strong? And I just sat there and said, if you have to think about hiding images in your portfolio, you're probably not ready to put the portfolio out. If every image can't stand on its own and be really strong, then it probably shouldn't be in there. Okay, the question is, how does the guy make his file name? How does he change his file name? You do that in the camera. I don't know if the D3100 lets you do that, but I change my file names to the first, three numbers followed by 000. Which camera would you upgrade to from the Nikon D60, D90, D7000, or D300S? I got skills. I need more like a pro camera. Well, the 300S is going to be a more pro camera. You would want to look into that, or a 7000, or just wait till the replacement comes out if you can. But yeah, if you've got skills, I would look into more of the pro body, like a 300S. I don't know if Howard Stern follows me on Twitter. I would doubt it. I did send him an I Shoot Raw shirt. I don't know if he got it or not. Which do you recommend? Canon 7200 2.8 IS2 or the non-IS? Well, yeah, the IS is definitely worth it. It's an insanely amazing lens that Canon has. I shot with that on a Mark IV before, and that 70-200 VR2 is insane. Here's a good question. Is it okay to rely on autofocus all the time? I don't have the best eyesight, and it's not correctable with glasses or contacts. That's exactly how I shoot, autofocus all the time, because my eyes are not correctable with contacts, or, I mean, I don't even shoot with glasses. I cannot shoot with glasses because I can't put my eye in there, so I rely on autofocus. I put my focusing point where I want it, and that's just how I've always done it. Well, if you haven't, I mean, here's a question, okay? Well, what would you suggest I step into? Like D700 or the replacement or up to the D3S? Shooting an array of different things, getting paid for my work now with the D7000. I mean, I think the logical progression would be a 700 or a 700 replacement whenever that comes out. I mean, jumping up to a D3S if you don't have the glass yet is just spending money that you shouldn't spend on a body. You should spend it on glass. What lens should I buy? Photograph ski and sports. 70-200 2.8 is the best sports lens I've found. What's in my bag? Oh, I don't know what's in my bag today. Oh boy, I'm tired. Yeah, good response here by Eden. Eden, definitely, if somebody can't afford a good tripod yet, don't waste the money on a not so good tripod. Jiffer, you shoot paintball. Can't really put my eye into the viewfinder. What do you suggest? I would look at one of those think tank what do they call it? The hydrophobias that will protect your camera outside and everything, and it will probably get, you know, there's a removable eyepiece, or I don't know. I'd build like a hood or something that you could put your head into. Redged? No, haven't heard of it. If you could own only one lens for the D7000, what would it be? I don't know. That's a tough one. 24-70, maybe even just a 51.4, just something like that. For portraits, 70-200 is what I would get, but I'd look at the Sigma. The question is, what portrait lens should they get for their D90? And I think a 70-200 would be perfect. How often do I wash my hair? Every couple days. If I'm leaving it up, I can leave it up for a couple days. What about Greg? That's not much of a question. Do I get tired of repeating 7200? No, because there's a lot of new people that come along that haven't heard it before, so you have to just keep going, because there's a lot of new people that always come. I get a lot of the same questions in emails, but I still answer them the same way, because it's just, you know, people don't know, so that's why it helps. You're welcome from Sweden. What skills should you improve as a kid dreaming to be a professional photographer? Well, understanding light, understanding exposures, getting a feel for how, you know, everything changes if you change X, then Y changes. If you change Y, then Z changes. Just getting an understanding for what is going on with your camera. If you understand light and you can walk into a situation, know what lens to use, make sure your focus is tack sharp, know your settings and tweak them, that is the skill you should learn. And just capture the moment. I mean, I'll just say something about here's a question. Are you ever going to do another show with Greg? The FroKnowsPhoto show that I'm working on is a different type of show, and it's what I wanted to do before Greg and I started doing that other style show, which was more sit down. The actual FroKnowsPhoto show idea that I had for over a year is a little different, so I will be working on that by myself, but also have other photographers come on that are skilled in their certain skill set so that they can pass on information. I'll also say that there's been some questions about technical stuff and technical knowledge. When I started in photography, I didn't read a book. I didn't start reading a book and be like, I've read a book, now I can take pictures because I know every technical aspect. I am not a technical learner. I don't learn from reading a book. I learn from doing. And I am a practical photographer more so than a technical photographer. That means I understand all about what's going on with the photography and how to make the changes and how to tweak it. That doesn't mean that I can always explain it perfectly in the most technical terms. I can show you what I mean when doing it, but that's just how I learn. I learn in more of a practical sense, more so than a technical sense. And there's nothing wrong with if you want to learn technically, but just because you know how to do something technically from a book, like I could read a book on how to change the oil in my car and may not be able to do it because I really don't know what to do, but I read the book to tell me how to do it and I get it, but when I get to that situation I may not know what to do. But practically, I just like shooting and understanding. I've learned to understand light and everything that way. How do you open your RAW files on your Mac? I use Lightroom. Lil is fine. She's eating lunch. Naz, how do I get a great bokeh? What F number or shutter speed do I use? Well, as we know, shutter speed does not affect your depth of field. The aperture affects your depth of field. Take a look at the latest assignment in the FroKnowsPhoto forum, and you'll get a real good feel about what different apertures do. And that's the whole point of everybody putting up their different pictures. So you can see at 2.8 from a couple feet away, you're going to get this type of bokeh. From 2.8 at further away, you're going to get this type of bokeh. So go take a look in the section. Yes, distance always plays a thing with your bokeh. Just keep in mind that when I'm answering a certain question, I'm answering like specifically that thing. There's no one answer to answer every question, and you can always get deeper into everything, like asking how the depth of field works. Short distance, focal length, aperture, all play a part. They all play a part, but sometimes it's not easy to explain everything all at once, so something may be left out, and there's always more to every answer. The question is how to make money in landscape photography. Honestly, have no idea. I don't shoot landscapes, but I really don't know. Do I shoot JPEGs for sports photography? Absolutely not. Everything I shoot is raw all the time. Just raw all the time. I will not shoot JPEG. There's no. I don't buy into the I shoot too many sports photos and it takes too long to edit. I just feel that if you're going to shoot too many photos, you better cut back because you're probably not shooting keepers. I mean, I'm just not a fan of people just click, 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 click. Instead of composing, framing, anticipating, boom, capturing again. I don't mind short bursts, for certain action, but just constantly going click, 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 click. Every time you hit the button, you're shooting a burst. That's just, you're creating more trouble for yourself, and that's why some people don't like shooting raw. iMac over MacBook Pro. if you don't travel and take your work with you, it's definitely a much better work environment to use an iMac. I did answer this already. What skills should you improve on as a kid dreaming to be a professional photographer? I did answer that. If you're doing sports, the better lens is a 70 to 200 more so than a 24 to 70. Yeah, no spray and pray type of shooting. I'm going to have to call my grandfather back. I'll give him a call back. Well, if you already have a 70 to 200, then definitely add a wider one after that. Yeah, the ringtone is Benny Goodman. I don't like cheese. That's the question, is what's my favorite cheese? When I receive my D7000 box, is the CD for editing good? No, the CD for there's really nothing great on that CD. So we're gonna wrap up pretty soon because I have a ton of work to do. I have to get to a lot of these orders. I also have to write something because I'm speaking on Tuesday. Can you recommend a good bag? I don't know. What? Okay, what do they mean by crop sensor? Well, there's a 35mm sensor, which is full frame, and if it's smaller than full frame, then they consider that a cropped sensor. It's smaller. What is the best place or site to print photos? There's a ton of them out there. I've used Adorama Pix. I've used MPix. I use a professional one called Miller's Labs, which is owned by MPix. So there's a whole lot of different ones. I found good luck with all of those. K Randolph, I've done that. I've done that. He said I would like to see a tutorial using all entry level equipment because a lot of your viewers have entry level equipment. I feel it would be a big help to see what the cameras are capable of. I did that. One of the very early videos I did was with a D3000 where I shot a whole concert, and yeah, I used better lenses for it, but I used a D3000. In FroKnowsPhoto site version 2, we're gonna design it, develop it so that it's much easier to find the content that you've missed or that you want to see. Because I know on this site it's currently not that easy. It wasn't built in like that. Thanks, Gringo. Is there a difference between micro 4/3 and 4/3? I haven't done too much research. I wouldn't touch a micro 4/3 system. Talk about getting bad high ISO capabilities. You're now using a sensor that's even smaller. You're welcome, Nazo. Yeah, the 18-200 is compatible with the D3100, but I mean, if it has motors in it, it is. I wouldn't use that lens. Low light photography, get a 50-1.8, get a 35-1.8, any of those. Are battery grips worth the money? In pro bodies, yes. D7000 and up, I would suggest it. Is a crop body really much worse off than an FX? My friend is comparing D7000 to D700, and he wants to save money and buy lenses, but I think it would be not worth it. Listen, there's a camera in between the D700 and the D7000. There's the D300S, so you know, if you don't want to go for the D7000, then go with the D300S. If he's just starting out, and buy the lenses. Is it worth getting the 7200 lens with the Nikon D3100? Absolutely. The Sigma would be a good way to go for what, $900 at Allen's. If you're buying a flash for a Canon or you're buying a flash for a Nikon, I definitely recommend going with the Nikon or Canon flash, either the SB700, SB900, the Canon 580EX2 is a great flash also. No problem. What is the best Black Rapid strap? Well, I enjoy the RS Sport personally. I've been using it. That's what I use when I go on a shoot. I just like it. I mean, the great thing is it's like I can hang it there and not worry about it. Like I have the D3S and a 70-200 2.8 hanging from the wrong socket because I don't put because I change lenses when I'm shooting so quick at concerts. I don't want to unhook the Black Rapid, so I put it right into the plate on the bottom. Yeah. Please don't retype copying things. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'll read it the first time, but don't type it in 4 times, please. I do not use Photoshop for my editing. Joe, less of a trigger finger, man. Let me warn him once, alright? Yeah, just, well, privately, you can send them a private message, warn them, and if they keep going, then you can do it. Do I ever use a double strap? No, I should. Well, I don't have 2 cameras to use for it right now. Allen's doesn't really ship out of the U.S. Very special occasions or certain circumstances. Thanks, guys. I'm going to be getting out of here. I'm going to be going to... I got so much work to accomplish because I'm heading up to New York on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If you're in the city, I'll be there. Blog World is going on, and I'm shooting Blog World, so it's a lot. There's a lot going on, so I got to prepare everything. Javits Center. Alright, guys. Any final last things? No problem, everybody. Alright, I'm gonna get out of here. I'll answer this one. What happened to the shows? The shows are changing. I'm going to be filming and producing an actual type show along the lines that I've wanted to do for over a year. It's a great idea that I've had, and there's a lot of good stuff to do with it. So that's what I'm working on producing, and I plan on making 4 or 5 of them for, say, the first season of it, and then go from there and release them that way. But it's just going to be a much better format than just sitting in the chairs and talking. And you know, I was thinking about doing a podcast, just audio podcast, just with the talking. That could be something fun to do, but for now, that's about it. Alright, everybody, I am going to sign off. Thank you for being here. Keep doing the assignments. They're fun. Everybody's going to learn a lot from them. It really helps everybody learn. Joe, thank you for moderating today. And it's time for me to get back to work. I got to prep everything for the week. Alright, Jared Poland, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.